everybody. Hello. And hello, of course, Mr. Assistant over there. How are we doing?
Hi Eddie, and hello chat. Yeah, I'm good. Is everyone else having a good Friday so far?
I, I must say, it is slightly strange interviewing someone and not seeing their face. Because normally I'll either see their face or I'll see like their logo, their brand's logo, and I guess this, I suppose, is your brand. What kind of I guess drew you to not showing your face? What's the reasoning behind it?
So it's one of those funny things, really. So initially, I went with the idea of, do you know what? I'll show my face, but then I thought my face isn't important. I guess the main thing that I'm trying to do is I love cooking, I love games, and do you know what? If I'm trying to sort of make food, then the food should be the thing that people are looking at. It doesn't matter what I look like. I could be the ugliest or the most attractive person in the world, but ultimately, like the thing that should attract you to the video and what you should be looking at is what's in front of me. So, and I also feel almost as though it allows people to build their own, to hear you out almost. I know that sounds strange, but subconsciously, whether you're realizing it or not, if you go to watch somebody and they're not what you deem that you would sort of naturally want to look at, or if you would like to look at that person and hear them speaking for a prolonged period of time, because either you're looking at them and thinking, you know, oh, there's something quite not right, or you're looking at a detail of their face, or there's something not quite right about them.
Something
That's what
catches
you're
your
going to
eye.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. You're going to be distracted by that, or it's going to put you off. And ultimately, I wanted to give myself the best shot, so to speak, by speaking with my food and not my face.
I would say so far it's done you quite well. You've been going what 2 months? It's July you started, right?
Yeah, 20th of July I started. It's absolutely mental. Like, honestly, I can't be thankful enough to the community. Everyone's been so amazing in supporting me and just, thank you all so much. It's just, amazing. I just, yeah, honestly, I can't think of any other better way of describing it than that. Quite honestly, it's, I did this as a sort of, maybe I'll give it a go. I currently don't have any sort of creative outlet that isn't playing games. And quite frankly, I don't constitute a creative outlet as playing games. So I just wanted something to do, something I could be invested in. And since I came out of catering as a career, I sort of missed doing it a lot. I miss practicing some of the skills that you wouldn't necessarily do on a daily basis when you're knocking up a dinner on a Monday night, so to speak. So being able to do this, it's just so much better.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things, isn't it? When you do it, I'd imagine when you're a chef, when you get home, the last thing you want to do is more cooking.
Yeah, 100%. That's the one thing that people always say to you. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, oh, I bet you, and then they normally look to your other half and go, oh yeah, I bet you do well out of this arrangement, and you're like, well, yeah, no, not really. It's it's not like like if you're a psychiatrist, you go home and you suddenly want to be like grilling the person you're chatting to, is it? It's like,
Yeah, I'm sure you. I mean, I can imagine going out to restaurants and stuff. You're always like subconsciously judging everything with a closer eye than most
yes
people.
and no. I sort of, what's the way to phrase this? I know what I'm getting myself into. I'm not the sort of guy that's going to walk into a McDonald's or a fast food chain and go, "Oh, is this meal frozen? Have you reheated this in a microwave? Disgusting!" Like, I don't care, frankly. Like, quite often the price of the food and what you're actually, where you're going, what you're going to end up with. You can't rightly sit there and turn up like the bloke from Ratatouille and expect to be food critiquing something that's you know meant to be high end when really it's like just microwave food. You know what you're
Yeah.
going to get. Like, just go out and enjoy yourself. Do you know what I mean? But like, if you're if you're going to say like a really high end restaurant, yeah, of course, I'd expect the service to be on point and the
Mm.
food to be immaculate. But the main thing that always galls me, no matter where I go, I could be going to like somewhere really really cheap, and it's people service where there's like teenagers and it's their first job and they're serving you. That's great. They're working. It's good. It's admirable. But like, I can't stand poor hygiene. There's no excuse for my table to be sticky, and I don't want to see your mate picking his nose and stuff like that. It's just grim. Like, it's just no need.
Yeah, that's definitely not the place to go if
So yeah,
you're
if
averse
anything,
to a
that's probably
shower.
what I'm gonna. Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna be judging people on. If anything, it's always like the hygiene. I don't want to be picking your hair out of my food. You know what I mean?
Let's head back to RuneScape, I guess, where your series has started. Where did you come across RuneScape? How did you find it?
Oh god, yeah. So I've been playing RuneScape coming up like 17 years now. I got into RuneScape when I was on a. When I say I got into RuneScape, I didn't actually get into it. I first heard about RuneScape when I was on a family holiday back in 2004. So I, as you do, made like a holiday friend, and
I
we
remember
got
that sort
chatting
of
and
thing.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so weird, isn't it? Like, I don't know why. It's just something you don't do as an adult, really. I mean, I guess you do if you've got kids and stuff, but I don't tend to interact with other people now on holiday. But yeah, when you're a kid sitting by the pool and he's telling me about this fantastic game he's been playing, and I'm sitting there like, oh great, yeah, this sounds really good. I'll give it a try. He physically like wrote it down on like a scrap of paper for me, and then I remember getting home and like the first thing I did when I got home, I'm rapidly rummaging through my luggage, like, oh god, what was it? What was it? Like, I've gone online and found this really weird, like dodgy looking website, and I'm thinking, is this guy trying to like scam some money out of me, or is this like a legit game? And then so I don't know if you've ever seen the website from back then, but it was literally like a picture of a knight and a picture of a skeleton side by side, and there were screenshots from the actual game just in amongst
Text.
various
Yeah.
text. Yeah, it was awful, and I mean, it was relevant for the time period, but it was just so funny. And I remember downloading this and then absolutely hooked from like the first day of playing it. I didn't do anything worthwhile. I've got to say, like I've now learned since growing up and looking into when all the skills and stuff were released that um, I must have joined about a couple of months after Runecrafting got released. And yeah, it's one of those funny things. Like I literally spent best part of my time just randomly sitting in the general store, watching all of the because the general stores work different as well back then. All these things people used to constantly sell stuff. So every 5 seconds you'd have like the little window open. You'd like see all these things like pinging up and people like rapidly buying them, and then they'd always sell back for less than you bought them for. And because obviously Runecraft had come out, all of the mysterious talismans, as they were called, then all used to pop up, and I used to think they were some sort of magical thing because there were all these different like coloured weird looking
Versions.
objects that
Yeah.
used to pop up, and I used to try and collect them. I have no idea what I was doing. I didn't even train Runecraft. I hadn't even done bloody Rune Mysteries. I don't know what I was doing, but I used to buy them all, and yeah. Then I ended up trading my entire bank for a Dragon Med helm because it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life, and realised it was like 60K's worth back then, which was like the equivalent of like 50 mil or something stupid back then.
Yep.
Like now, I mean, and I wasn't even members. So yeah, it was just I don't know. Yeah, so that was my earliest memory of RuneScape, but it's still one of my favourites.
That's just the sort of thing you do when you're young, though, isn't it?
Exactly, you
You
just don't
don't
know what you're doing,
you
but
don't have the wiki. You just kind of go with what you
yeah,
like the look
exactly that.
of and all that stuff. So that's a very good question that I've seen it asked in chat. I normally wait until the end, but I feel like
Yeah,
we
sure.
should
No,
go
I've
with
got
this one.
I've got the chat, so go for it.
Would you strive to cook with more unconventional foods in the future? Are you going to do manta ray, shark soup, that sort of thing?
Okay, so this is one that I do get asked a lot. So in a sense, I'm glad that somebody's asked it in the chat. So I do intend on cooking slightly, what I guess you could call unconventional foods. So things like spider on a stick, all of those like weird stuff, because I'm going to be doing it as like probably a Halloween type thing.
Okay,
So
nice.
things like the worm batter, things like that, and you'd go, oh my god, like what, like actual worms? Like obviously, no, I'm not going to go and dig up some worms and put them in the food. I want it to be edible, but you can use things like gummy worms. Like there's ways around these things to make them enjoyable for people to
Hey,
watch and still make them edible.
have you ever tried a worm batter? It might be the most
No, I
tasty
mean
thing in your
if you
life.
want to go out in the garden and eat some worms, I will not judge you. There's no judgment here, but no, like as it stands, things like manta ray. I don't live near a massive fish market type thing. I mean, I don't think that my local fishmonger is even open since all the quarantine stuff hit. So and things like shark, you get into all the difficult sort of like ethical side of things, should we say?
Yes.
Like, shark fin soup and all of that. Not really my cup of tea. It's probably not the right channel if you want to see that sort of stuff, if I'm quite honest. But other than that, it's all fair game as far as I'm concerned.
I guess building off that, what are you most looking forward to doing? Is there a dish that you've got that you can't wait to do?
One of them was the chocolate bomb, but
Yeah.
I did that a few weeks ago. That was, as you expect, it was great. Like, it was chocolate and cream and all that good stuff. But another one is the bacon cheesecake. So I know this is one of those like RS3 exclusive things. So I didn't want to lead just with that because I know that it's one of those, it's one of those things like you don't want to alienate the community. If there's like rocktail soup, like, bacon cheesecake, all these things, like they only exist in, just that game. So I didn't want the OSRS community to feel a little bit put out by it. But bacon cheesecake's very much on the menu in the future, something I'm looking to make. I also want to, I've really strived to make my food edible. I can't stand wasting food. I don't want to go on preaching now, there's all the hungry people in the world and all that sort of thing, but it's a fair point. And I don't see the sense in wasting perfectly good food and ingredients because, for the sense of comedy.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So quite frankly, like, I just want to make the food like decent, edible and that sort of thing. So yeah, a bacon cheesecake, very much looking forward to making that. And again, it's another one of those things where really aiming to make that actually nice to eat, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be... So do you do revisions on it before you eventually do the video? Do you like try multiple times, or is it kind of
This might surprise people, but no, I literally just go for it. I've done cooking for, since I was like 8 years old, so it's one of those, and I am like trained, I guess you could call it, at college and that sort of thing, so I know what I'm doing in that aspect. But there's a lot of like technical things, because essentially like chocolate bombs to me are just profiteroles, but like reverse version. They're filled from the top instead of the bottom. So stuff like that, it's one of those things where you really don't think about it. You just kind of know how to do it already. But there's certain things I have to sort of write down. Like, I don't know if anyone was watching the what do you call it? RuneScape pub quiz last Friday. I was watching it, and Mod JD randomly shouted me out, which was, insane. Mm-hmm. Really didn't actually think that he even knew I existed. So to have a random shout out from him, that was incredible. But also one of the categories for the quiz that they did, they broke out a load of the items there and said, okay, and how much do we think, a kebab is worth on the Grand Exchange? And how much do we think a Wizard Mind Bomb's worth on the Grand Exchange? And that was some of the questions. You had to guess how much they were worth. And then at the end of it, he drops it on me that, he wants me to take all of those items, there were 10 in total, and make them into a recipe. And I thought, crap. Okay, thank you very much for that, JD, but also that's going to be a challenge. Now, videos like that, I didn't actually have to practice, but I did have to do a lot of writing. I probably should have come prepared with this. You could actually see them, but I literally have about 3 A4 pages of notes of different sort of ways that I could put those ingredients together, what sort of dishes I can make with them, how I could utilize each of the ingredients, what's likely to happen with them, what additional stuff I'd need to buy, all of that sort of thing. So that's, I guess, what you could call the preparation that goes into some of my videos, but in the sense of actually pre-making the food, not really, no.
Because you understand the techniques and you understand the ingredients already. Yeah,
exactly. And it's one of those where as well, I guess you could say that it's, unless we want to eat the same thing for dinner twice in 2 weeks, no, not really, again, because otherwise what am I going to do with the finished thing? I'm either going to have to eat the whole thing for a lunch one day, and, I don't need to make myself any fatter, but yeah.
So I normally a question I ask is, where does like the username, the channel name come from? I mean, that's pretty obvious. What's your like in-game username, and how did you come up with that?
So my in-game username is Geese Go Moo. Yeah.
All right.
So, so my first ever RuneScape username was, oh Christ, Dimension 997. And I'm pretty sure that I spelt dimension wrong. It was like Dimension or something stupid because I'm an idiot. And yeah, that was my first ever RuneScape username. That got hacked about, like a year, 2 years into me having the account. Weirdly enough, by one of my associates at school, shall we say.
Nice.
Because, obviously hacking back then wasn't, tapping away like, oh, I'm in, like old school hacking. It was literally just tricking you into revealing your password because
Yeah.
everyone and their mum had like some really obvious thing. It was like, what's your favorite pet? Oh, dog. Oh, it's dog 123. Got you. Like, and then all of a sudden you log in, your full room's gone and you're sitting there crying. Yeah, literally. So that was the end of that account. And then I thought, okay, let's make another account. And that was the era that Miniclip had got hold of RuneScape, and all of a sudden it was all over everywhere. All of the good usernames was taken. So it was either that I turned into Dragon Slayer Master 559 or something again, and I thought, no, do you know what? I'm a bit more experienced in this game. I'm a 2-year vet at this point. I'm basically Zezimar. So I'll try and find a username that doesn't have any numbers in it, and my random, God knows how old brain decided that I was going to call myself Geesko Moo. So there we are.
And you've kept it ever since.
16 years later. I just can't bear myself to change it. I just, it's just what I am. I mean, even my mum and dad know that that's my bloody account name.
Is that your account on like other games and stuff as well? Have you kind of stuck with Geesko Moo across?
No, I go by something else that I'm not really going to give out to people just yet. But yeah, the Geesko Moo thing's pretty much exclusively RuneScape. I think I had a Steam account called it, but I don't really use it now.
Don't remember it. And what title do you have with Geesko Moo? What's the classic?
I don't use one. I must be one of the only people playing RS3 that never uses a title. I literally like my unadulterated name.
Nice. All right. And
mainly just because I've not unlocked any worth having. Like I've got I play World of Warcraft and Guild Wars and that sort of thing as well. Like Guild Wars was one of my first MMOs, so it's one of those where I've got titles in there that I would use, but in RS3 I'm awful at bossing, and I'm not particularly good at anything else that would give you a rare title, like whatever the Grim Reaper challenge one is.
What, the one where you have to one of every boss?
All the boss. Oh god, yeah. No,
the Reaper crew.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm like, no. So yeah, that would be the only one I'd probably go for, or maybe Jack Trades or the Pets one. Those would be the cool ones. But
so, what is your favorite skill to training game?
That's a good one. So in RS3, I'd probably say divination. I know that's a really weird one, and everyone's going to be like, what? And I'm literally going to get cancelled, and everyone's going to be like, not cooking. But let's be real, who actually enjoys cooking in the game? Unless it's like the Gnome Restaurant, which, yeah, let's be fair, that's one of the best pieces of content they've ever added. But like, actual cooking is literally just sitting there making 50,000 jugs of wine, or sitting there burning lobsters until you get a cooking gauntlet. So ironically, no. And yeah, here we go. Everyone's like, divination, no.
But what about divination is it that appeals to you, I suppose? Because I've never really enjoyed it.
I just like the way that the wisps look. I think it's quite a chilled out skill. It's not particularly intensive. It's it's just quite laid back. Like, it takes you to all of these different seldom used locations that you tend to forget exist in the game. And yeah, there's some nice scenery to look at while you're doing it, and generally speaking, it's quite chilled out. And there's the few little things like the Chronicles and the Gothixian caches and that sort of thing that appear and sort of zhuzh it up a little bit for you every few hours or so. But yeah, other than that, it's just quite nice, and I like the invent art for all of the memories and the enriched and stuff like that. I think the art team's done a really good job on it. The pet's really cool. Yeah, just that really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's quite nice that there's so many different ways to train it as well, in that you can go
Yeah,
to Hall of Memories and stuff. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, truth be told, I've not really done much of Hall of Memories. I was sort of, max, so to speak, before that even came out. But it's yeah, it's just a cool skill. I mean, if I had to pick another one second to that, um, I'd probably say Runecraft if we're looking at old school skills. Again, like I'm going to get absolutely crucified for it,
yeah,
but
I was
like
gonna say that
I
is
know
like
I
the
could do
most
with that.
hated in old school, isn't it?
Like, it's one of those where if you think back to what I said about my earliest RuneScape memory, then that's probably why. Because I literally remember when I finally worked out how these these mysterious talismans worked, that I spent all of my money like spam buying, and I worked out that you could right click locate on them, and I tracked down all these weird little ruins out in the middle of nowhere. And I finally figured out, wait a minute, there's a quest and a whole skill behind all of this. What is this? Don't get me wrong. Now I'm older. I kind of despise it in old school just because it's so slow, and I can fully understand why people don't like it. But I think it just holds this sort of special place for me because it's the memory
Yeah.
associated aside it. But yeah,
I mean, runes are one of the most important things humans discovered on Gillinor, right?
yeah, exactly that. So
So, what was your last 99, and what was the first as well, if you remember?
my first 99 was Fletching.
Okay.
Um, completely by random. Like, it was one of those things where I started playing, as you do, you get all your mates into it. I was the one at my school that ended up making all of my mates play RuneScape. Quite proud of that flex. And
Thanks to the
you know,
holiday friend.
I was the cool guy. Never cool. But yeah, so I got all my friends into playing RuneScape. There was a little bit of friendly competition. I was the one with the highest runecraft, and then my mate was the one with the highest woodcut, and I used to buy all of his logs off of him. So we had a little, like, internal economy at school. It's quite nice. But yeah, like, so we ended up sort of just doing that, and then eventually I got to the point where I was like, dude, I've been buying all of your logs, and actually my fletching level is getting quite high now. So like, yeah, I might just go for 99. And obviously at that point he couldn't keep up with the sort of supply that I needed,
Yeah.
so I had to sort of outsource them. And I remember having to, this was before the days of the Grand Exchange as well, so I was literally stood in Yanil Bank, sitting there spamming buying you logs and that sort of thing. And then I moved on to Magics and felt like, absolute baller.
Top
But
dollar, yeah.
yeah, literally. So splashing, like, I think it was like 1.2 mil on like 1,000 Magics back then, and it was like, whew. But yeah, like, and then finally got 99. I think I was the first 99 in school, so that was pretty cool. Like, got all my friends to do it, and 99s then were huge because I got
Yeah.
99 fletching just shortly after the release of skill capes as well, I think. So that was back when people didn't have them easily accessible. Like, it wasn't one of those things where you could just go onto YouTube, and like see all of the 99s, or it was such commonplace that everybody had the capes that everyone knew what they looked like. So I used to get people come up to you and be like, hey, Fletching cape emote and stuff like that. It's, it felt so good.
And then what was the last 99 before
And
you
my
maxed for the
last one,
first time? Yeah.
archaeology. No, sorry, invention. Really
Okay.
weird. So again, weird story. I've got one of these relationships that everyone seems to have with RuneScape, sadly, where I go through phases of absolutely sweating it and then not playing it for about 2 years. So I went on my absolute like sweat fest before Invention came out. Was probably 97 agility. I think
Yeah.
that was right. About 97 agility, and then they released Invention. And I hated it, and I still do. It's awful. It's just such. They've done so much more to it now. I will give them that. There's so much more to that skill now than there was when it first came out. But when that skill first came out, it was dreadful. They announced it at RuneFest, and they said, "Oh, it's going to go hand in hand with this new divination skill." And I was like, "Well, I don't really need a skill to go with divination. I really like divination, but all right, fair, I'll give you that." And then they released it, and it just felt like this grindy, horrible, really expensive, wasteful, like money sink skill
Yeah.
for high level people that could be power leveled in the course of about a day by spamming the abyss, by wearing, augmented top bottoms and staff and that sort of thing, and spamming ice barrage. Or you could be the person that had literally no money, which is me basically 90% of my RuneScape life, and take about 2 years to train it. So that's what I did. I augmented my pickaxe and my hatchet, and then set to work wasting a load of time retraining skills that I already had 99 in, just for the sake of trying to level up, to then end up siphoning it because I couldn't afford to dismantle it. And then I gave up. I ended up about level 72, packed it in completely, quit RuneScape for about 2 years, came back about 2 months before I set my channel up, and that was about a month after Archaeology came out. Did Archaeology, enjoyed that. That was pretty different. Bit of a grind, bit slow between levels.
Yeah,
it was a bit slow between 49 to about 65. I just felt like it really dropped off, where they haven't really balanced the mid game very well. But that other than that, I really enjoyed it. And then there's still I made sure that even though it literally cost me all of my bank, I made sure that I got a Dragon Mattock immediately, so that I could start using that as a siphon, so that I could get my stuff and still train up Invention side by side. And finally managed to get that to about, I think it was about 93 or something by the time I finally got 99 Archaeology. And then it still needed redoing, so I still had to go back and but thankfully I worked out that smithing is a waste of time, so is fire making, which were the two that I used to do to actually train it, and ended up just doing, what did I do in the end? I think I did.
I mean, combat is by far the quickest.
Yeah, I think I did a bit of combat. Really went for it with all the PVM. I really liked the Slayer pyramid thing.
Okay, yeah.
So I augmented myself some range and magic gear, and then just got some nice monsters for my pyramid, and then just made a bit of money along the way. And actually, it wasn't so bad in the end. So not quite a disaster, but yeah, it wasn't the smoothest one, considering I've had that account for 14, 15 years or something, and I finally maxed it 2 months ago. Obviously, I was pretty pleased with myself because it finally felt like the end of an era, I've been playing for so many years, and then to finally, finish it, so to speak,
and get that cape.
Honestly, it was just so good. And then finally seeing what all the fuss was about, and then obviously by now, loads of skills have been increased to 120, and there's comp capes and trim comp capes, and I'm just sitting here I'm kind of done. I'm fine. I'm fine being a little max noob without my 120s or without anything else, and that's cool. I'm fine. So now I play old school.
Nice. And what do you enjoy about old school? Is it? I guess you've got that nostalgia factor,
same as everyone. Yeah, exactly that. I think it's same as anyone that's had their account as long as I have. It's just this nostalgia factor to it. I mean, truth be told, I'm finding a lot less time to play it now because of the channel and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where also you just get burnt out after going for max, as you know, because obviously you max recently as well. It's one of those things where you can't be bothered just sink a load of time in. And obviously, as the skills are quite literally identical, albeit it's harder in a sense in old school because there's less variety of the content, should I say. So rune crafting is literally rune crafting unless you unlock Zaya rune crafting, and then there's or ZMI, and then there's smithing is just literally spamming plate bodies. They've not got the whole rework thing and stuff like that. So
no burials or anything like that.
No, exactly. And I've just got to the point now where I'm just okay, I've done all this before, and as much as I'm enjoying it, quests are still one of my favorite content because it's something a bit different. It's not just grinding out the same stuff.
And I guess with quests as well, in old school, they've kind of taken a separate pathway. You've almost got now two timelines going.
Yeah, exactly that. And I've still got my quest cape in RS3, albeit I haven't done the most recent quest. but I've done all the others, and I think I'm on about 193 quest points, so I'm probably not too far off. I've finished Recipe for Disaster and stuff like that.
Very nice. I
Yeah.
actually haven't finished Recipe Disaster yet. I probably should. I did Endgame the other day, but I haven't done Recipe for Disaster, which is a bit of an odd sort of order. But
Yeah, it was a bit of a throwback, I must admit. When I did it, I was a bit like, oh, I haven't done this in a while. And then I was really nervous about like the final fight because I was like, yeah, this will be easier. And I was like, wait, you can't use prayer.
oh,
No. It's like when you grow up and you're used to like, oh no, this melee boss is attacking me. Pray from melee, done. And then it's like, well, this is hard. But that it was like, wait, no. What do you mean? But actually, it wasn't too bad at all. I'm like 74 combat and managed to do it, and I've done Desert
right.
Treasure and all that jazz. Yeah, wasn't too difficult.
Have you got fire capes on both games, or not ventured into
Fire
that?
RS3, I did that when it was technically old school because they hadn't got EOC or anything there. But yeah, I'm yet to do that on my my old school account yet.
We just touched on quests. Do you have a favorite?
Ooh, just trying to think. Actually, God, there are so many of them. Like especially RS3 because like the links they've gone to now are just amazing. Like some of the stuff they've added to quests and sort of the cut scenes, and they've gone all in with the music and the voice acting and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just insane. Like really hard to think actually. I don't want to be boring and say I don't have one, but like it is genuinely really hard to think of.
I guess or a favorite like quest series because obviously you've got stuff like the Fremniks, the elves, the vampires.
That's a good point.
Maybe that's a bit
really
more
not,
easier.
Yeah, I mean, really not. Again, possibly an unpopular opinion. I don't really know what sort of thing people are into, but I'm really not a huge fan of the vampire series. I just I don't like Mauritania in general. Sorry, settled. But yeah, just not a huge fan. It's just not really my sort of thing. I like again, not really a fan of the Fremnik ones either. I don't know what it is about like it's all the gloomy, like muddy, dark areas. I just don't really. I like the stuff that's my favorite are always the Elven Quest one.
Yeah, the Elven. The Desert Quests are quite nice as well.
Yeah, they're good. Especially the newer ones. I was a bit hesitant at first when they replaced Prince Ali Rescue, and all of those. The old school favorite ones like. Because I always quite enjoyed the fact, like there was always not only the fact that I've again done another quest, but there was also this like smug self-righteousness about doing Prince Ali Rescue. The fact that you could walk through like no 10 GP for you today, boys, like walking through the gate. You know what I mean? So there was always that, but yeah, like other than that, yeah, I'd say probably of all of them, I really enjoyed. What do you call it? Hated Underground Pass. That makes me want to throw like my keyboard across the room.
It's just the amount of agility like checks you have to pass throughout.
Yeah, like I even made sure when I did it on my old school account, I was like, right, I'm not doing this again. I'm getting my agility to 50. I'm getting my thieving to 50. I'm doing all the shortcuts. I'm gonna have it all done. And then like I literally got to the last jump before you get to the Iban. It's like his little fortress in the middle, and I stacked it, and I was like, "Oh my god, you are joking!" And then I fell a second time, and by that point, I had to go for a walk. Like, just you get that far, and it's like, "Oh my god!" But yeah, I like the
Elven
the final one where you unlock Prifdiners. It was just
so
that.
You've got Plague's End in RS3, and I can't remember the name of the old school one, but
yeah, that was a great quest. And then you get to the end of that, and you get to walk through the gates of Prifdiners, and you're like, "Oh yes, I've made it."
You get greeted, and a whole city open to you.
And, I think because they did such a good job as a company as well, Jagex, of promoting Prifdinus, and like the Rune Fest that year was all geared around that as well. In general, it was all Prifdinus themed, and then they had. I think that was the same year that they re-engineered some of the music and got all the orchestral versions as well. It's just, I think that was just a big year for RS3 in general, really.
And it's kind of unfortunate because they launched it with half the clans, right? I wasn't playing at the time, so I can't.
Yes, I think it was the first like 6 months or something. We only had like half the city, but yeah, to be honest, I didn't even until you said that. Then I forgot that was even a thing. It wasn't really something that I particularly noticed, and in a sense, I think it was good because it staggered it a little bit more as well.
It got players to come back to it that little bit
Well,
later.
that and up to about like, well, I don't know because, as I say, I've only just come back after a couple of years. But it felt at some point like once you'd unlocked Prifddinas and you were a certain level in all of your skills, you just didn't need to leave. And as much as that was convenient in some instances, it also kind of spoilt the game for others. And like there were mini games and so many areas of the game that just weren't being used as well, and it just felt wasteful.
Almost too efficient.
Yeah, precisely. It was a shame because, like, don't get me wrong, there was great content and like the agility course is really cool and all that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, it did get to the point where I sort of thought, like, guys, can I do something that isn't in Prifddinas for once, please?
What would you say your favourite update over the years has been?
Ooh,
Big question. I know there's been quite a few updates. It's the Guinness World Record holder.
I've got to say construction.
Okay.
Um, really liked farming. Really liked construction coming out. But construction for me was just kind of cool. Like all of the extra bits you could do. I mean, less so now. It's kind of become a little bit irrelevant now that they've added all the lodestones and anything else. But anyone that still plays old school can tell you how beneficial it is to actually level up your house, if that's what you want to call it. Having access to the portal rooms and having a mounted glory and having the G altar and all of that sort of thing is just so good. It's just such a huge sort of benefit to even just knowing somebody like that has the G altar, and when you've got all the portals in your house and you can just take, if you're doing clue scrolls or quest stuff, and before they released all the convenience items for clue scrolls, you could literally just take house tabs and you've already got your entire portal network in your house, and just fantastic.
Have you got a favourite pet? Would it be the divination one? Because
I really like the divination one. I also really like the is the quill, the floating quill, the fletching one.
I believe so. Yeah, I can't remember the actual name of the pet, but yeah.
I really like Rue, the runecrafting one.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of ones that I probably, I wouldn't sniff at. I mean, I've got a couple myself. I think I've got the ranging one and I've got the archaeology one that everyone and their dog seems to have.
Yeah, I don't know quite. I feel like it was done per tick of XP.
There somewhere. Yeah, they've 100% messed that up.
Because
I was like, oh, another one. Like
playing in like the first couple of weeks of archaeology, the amount you were seeing getting unlocked. I mean, I got mine, I think, level 50 or 55, something around that.
I think I got mine when I was in the Warforged dig site, so I think I must have had to have been at least, was it 70?
76, something like that.
So that sounds right, yeah. But yeah, like there's something definitely gone wrong with the algorithm there. But yeah, still cool pet. Don't get me wrong. It's just
everybody's got it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just doesn't feel special when you get it. Like you sort of normally you'd be like, oh my god, a pet, and like this one was about like, oh, it's about time. Like
yeah, everyone else has it.
Of course I've got it. Like he's got it.
What do you think RS3 could learn from old school, and old school could learn from RS3?
Interesting question. So I think old school could probably learn that RS3 isn't as easy as they think it is, and that there's other like elements to it. I think the mechanics of the bosses and stuff like that, they could probably adopt a bit better because because their prayer system in old school is so blanket easy. It's just like I put on protect from range because I'm being attacked by a ranger. GG.
Basically, become invincible with it.
Exactly. Like, but they have to work so hard to incorporate prayer switches and movement because that's literally all they can add. Whereas in RS3, there's so much more because you've got the EOC system. And I'd say probably for RS3, it's the whole player-owned house thing. They've basically made them redundant. In old school, you've got like a teleport nexus, which includes like 4 or 5 times the amount of teleport locations, because you can add in all of the lunar spellbook locations and all of that sort of thing as well. You've got jewelry boxes, so you can literally have like a games necklace, ring of jewel like all of these sorts of things. You've got the ability to switch your spell books at your player-owned house. You've got fairy rings, you've got spirit trees that you can plant in the gardens. Whereas with RS3, it seems to be that's why they justify invention existing. Okay, it's like instead of utilizing construction that everyone's already got to 99, obviously everyone's already got invention to 99, but like instead of sort of making them both useful, it's like, God, we need this thing that we need to add to the game, portable fairy rings. What are we going to do with it? And someone's like, invention. And it's like, okay, and player-owned houses? No, we don't need those anymore, don't worry.
It's a tricky one, though, because they had to make invention appeal to everybody rather than just PVM. Yeah. Like, because obviously the perks are, I would say, quite heavily aimed at like doing more damage in bosses a lot.
Exactly, yeah, and I get it. It's just difficult because they have literally made that skill nearly irrelevant now. It's just another grindy skill that costs a lot of money now. Construction.
Have you had a chance to do the contracts, the new training method on old school for construction?
I have, yeah, Mahogany Homes. It's called. Interesting one. Can see the benefits and the downsides to it. Benefits being it's a lot cheaper. The XP is relatively good. Probably not as quick as doing, tear it down, build it up. But also, it requires. They have something called the Graceful Outfit, which basically the full set reduces your run energy costs, and also because run energy, for those that haven't played old school, is like a huge thing. It's like you literally run from like Varrock East to Varrock West and you're out of run energy. It's nuts. So yeah, and you can't rest. There's no musicians, anything like that. So literally like you find yourself walking everywhere. So they implemented this thing called the Graceful Outfit, where basically you have to do rooftop agility, and every time you do a lap of that, you have a chance to get a graceful token, which is just a random drop chance. They'll appear on the roofs, you pick them up, and then you go to the Rogue's Den, and there's a vendor there that sells them pieces of these graceful outfits for, the graceful tokens. When you've got the full outfit, it gives you a reduced chance to use your run energy, and then I think it also gives you a increased restore rate, kind of like the rapid heal prayer and that sort of thing. So it's essentially puts you sort of on par with the RS3 run energy. But yeah, like it's almost mandatory for that unless you're going to use energy potions and that sort of thing. And then obviously the cost element then gets outweighed and it becomes a bit messy. So I enjoyed it, but I also found that, it requires a lot of running about and teleports.
I guess it's less click intensive though. It's less carpal tunnel inducing.
Exactly. It's 100% less sort of like, RSI and all that sort of things. You're not sitting there constantly just click back, demon butler, that sort of thing. But at the same time, it's a lot more. You've got to know what you're doing. Like it's not just like you can't just pick it up. You've got to be like knowing the locations, and obviously there is an efficiency element to that as well. You could do it slower, but then you're very aware that you're doing it slower, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it's when you kind of start to realise I could be doing this more efficiently sometimes that kind of...
Exactly, yeah.
It takes away from it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are your favourite games outside of RuneScape? You said you've played quite a lot of MMOs. Are there any that you're still playing, or...?
So, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with World of Warcraft. I go through patches of absolutely sweating it, as I do with RuneScape. It seems to be my play style in general for games. It's probably a me problem, not a game problem, but, hey-ho.
You just kind of go too hard on one thing.
I do, yeah. I go full-on neckbeard with some of it, and then I end up being all like, oh, yeah, I can't really be bothered with that game anymore. But, yeah, my first ever MMO when I sort of quit RuneScape for the first time was Guild Wars. really enjoyed playing that. Played that with all my school friends, and then everyone kind of got bored of that, moved on to the next thing. Played a little bit of Guild Wars 2, but not really ever got fully back into it again. Played World of Warcraft for probably about 13 years now. Was kind of a bit put out by the last expansion that they released. I don't know if anyone in the chat plays it, but it was a bit flat in comparison to the one before that. There just wasn't enough content, I felt, really. But I've always kind of enjoyed it. Always gone back to it. I've already got the Shadowlands pre-order, so I'll probably end up playing that for a little bit as well. Played League of Legends, played Overwatch. Again, one of those things where in their nature they are team games, so obviously it's really helpful if you've got friends to play it with. Otherwise it becomes a little bit, sad. But other than that,
it can be a bit toxic as well.
Oh yeah, exactly that. That's the thing. It's I do my best to be positive, but sometimes you just got to scream at your PC.
Yes, that can be very hard in League, but I think for one season I kind of tried ranked, got to gold, and was like, okay, cool, that's fine for me. I'm just gonna play casually with friends.
Gold's not a bad go, yeah.
But, that was like season 4, so it's been a while.
Yeah, blimey, that is a while, yeah. But yeah, no. Other than that, I've not really played a huge amount of other stuff. I've been into. I'm awful at FPS games. I watch people that play FPS games, and I'd love to be good at them, but then I play them, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm aiming at, but it's not the enemy team, so maybe let's give that a miss.
My eyes just can't keep up with where the crosshair is. You kind of like, I think I've done it, but then you look back and it's like, I wasn't aiming at that person at all.
Yeah, literally that. I mean, the new ones just make me feel old, frankly. Like, I like. I used to like the old Call of Duty. Like, nothing beats a bit of like the original Modern Warfare. When you're sitting there in your ghillie suit with your Barrett 50 cal, you've got all the good perks on, you get a nice headshot on someone, it makes the nice ping noise. That's really satisfying. And then you get the gold camo and stuff like that. But the new ones just make me feel old. Like people running on walls, like doing double jumps and like somersaults and stuff. And I'm walking around like, I can't even aim when I'm stationary. What are you doing? Like, not great. But,
things have moved on a bit.
Exactly that, and I just think I've not caught up. But I've been into playing Among Us recently as well.
Yep.
Really good game. I think it's about 4 years old. I think I heard the other day, but obviously it's somebody's suddenly been talking about it, and it's all blown up. There's a lot of the RS3 and old school players and streamers, YouTubers, that sort of thing, all playing it as well.
It's quite a tricky game to stream, though, right? Because you do open yourself up to stream snipers. It's kind of like a Mafia game, from what I've seen, in some regards, in that you have people.
It's very much one of those where you just rely on people to not want to spoil their game, because who wants to watch somebody that's constantly getting, oh, they're the killer, and it's like, oh, cheers, that's really, really engaging content now, because now I'm just immediately going to get voted off, and then the whole chat's got to sit and wait for me to rejoin the game. So I guess they're already spoiling it for themselves, but yeah, you do get some people on there, don't you? So it's kind
of a game you have to play with chat closed, just in case someone really feels like.
The thing is it could turn the nicest people into like absolute rage heads. I think that's the main
just
thing
like Monopoly.
It is. That's what I literally call it. I say it ruins more friendships than Monopoly. This game, you get like the people that are like really calm and like, I'll be playing it and I'll shoot a video and I'm like, now we're going to add the butter and then we're going to do blah blah, and then like people are like, oh yeah, this guy's got a really nice voice, he's really calming, like, and then I get on like Among Us and I'm like, I saw him in the vent, I'll get you next round. How dare you vote me out? And everyone's like, whoa, dude, chill. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, it's just the game, I can't help it.
So why did you start doing the videos? What was the inspiration, I guess, for getting onto YouTube? Because you said like you missed Cookie and stuff a bit, but what was the recording it and putting it out there?
I think it's just missing having a creative outlet that I can get stuck into. I mean, as I've said before, I tend to overcommit myself to certain things like games and, well, games. So I'll get into RuneScape, I'll get into World of Warcraft, League of Legends, and I will absolutely no life them until I've achieved what I aim to achieve. But the difficulty is then I don't feel achieved. I talk to my family, I talk to, my colleagues and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, what did you do on the weekend?" And I'm like, "Well, I got 99 archaeology," and they're like, "Great, that's a good use of your time." And don't get me wrong, I'm not like bashing games. Obviously, I play enough games. You can tell I like them, but like, it doesn't make you, well, at least for me anyway, it doesn't make me feel good about myself. So I certain games as well, you like League of Legends is a good example earlier. Like you want to sort of relax and play a game. Maybe you've had a stressful day at work. Maybe you just want to unwind, and then you end up absolutely raging. It's one of those things where, like, I just wanted to feel like I was actually having something to do that wasn't playing games, something that I could invest a lot of my free time into, so that I actually felt as though I was doing something. And I like helping people. I like teaching people things. I'm a firm believer in, if you've got knowledge in your head and you want to, who are you benefiting by hoarding that to yourself? Like, I know that people like food, like everyone needs to eat. Like, I enjoy teaching people about cooking because it's one of the few things that I'm good at. So, unlike you, I can't play an instrument or anything. So, like, why not use my hands to show people how to do cooking and, talk about it? And then people are like, "Oh, I really like your food." And I'm like, "Wow, yeah, I like food." And it's just a nice thing to talk about.
So did you have the apron before?
Yeah, so this is an apron that I bought about 4 or 5 years ago from the RuneScape merch store. So it is RuneScape licensed merchandise, but they don't sell it anymore, sadly.
Limited edition. I suppose you could call it now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't. They might bring it back at some point. You never know. They tend to do this thing where they'll discontinue stuff and then they'll bring it back. Or I just think at the time, I think they misjudge the age of their player base. I can tell that the age of the player base has got older because, like, the viewership, like, my viewers are average on, I think, anywhere between 23 and 26, and then the next highest percentage is something like 27 to 34, which really surprised me. Like, it's great because I think people have got older and they're more into cooking, and now would be a good time, hint RuneScape, to release something like this because people would want to buy it. But back when it first came out, the player base was like 17. Like, they're not going to want it.
I think my average, obviously my content's very long form and I guess a bit more in depth and sort of chatty, is I think 25 to 34 is by far the highest. It's that length of time, I guess, that people can dedicate to it and just have it on in the background. I think a lot of people like to listen to this sort of thing and chill out, or if they're on a walk or something like that. So
fair enough. So just in that, just to hijack your questions for a minute, I've seen that I Am Nicky's asked, did you try one of his recipes yet, Eddie?
I haven't.
Absolutely outrageous.
Probably should, but nothing yet. I'm not much of a chef at all, to be completely honest. I very rarely do the cooking.
I see.
I know. I'm sorry.
You can't see my face, but I've got a little solitary tear dripping down one of my cheeks here.
We'll see it land on the table in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get a bit of bread dough out in a minute. I'll mop it up. But,
so, what do you think the biggest challenge when it comes to making the videos for you has been so far?
Being critical of my own editing. So, I don't know if you have this problem as well, but it's a difficult process in general doing videos. Obviously, you've got to plan them to some extent. You've got to then film them. In my case, I've got to buy the ingredients. I only really get one shot at it as well because I can't uncook a cake if it goes wrong. So it's one of those things where when I finally got all of the footage together, there's a lot of raw footage. Like, obviously, my videos vary. They're anywhere between about 3 to 7-ish minutes long. When I start being eligible for ad revenue, that may go up a little bit slightly. due to the fact that, I need to earn some money. I'm poor. But no, it's one of those things where just, content evolves and stuff. But when I've got about 25-ish minutes of raw video footage and I'm sitting there looking at it all like, what is all this? Like, what am I doing with all of this footage? And you realize that you've got to make it sort of snappy. You've got to keep the viewer engaged. You need to be kind of funny when you're reading it. I need to talk about, firstly, what I'm actually doing so people can either try and follow it or they can, actually watch the content. And the main thing for me is being critical with what I'm actually doing. There's no point in me... Nobody's going to want to watch 45 seconds of me sitting there with a bowl, like stirring something. It would just be boring. So, and if I don't want to watch it, people aren't going to watch it. And I think that's the main thing for me, is that I've needed to realize that and adopt this sort of mindset. And truthfully, I've only been doing this about a month and a half. I'm still learning. And there will be elements where sometimes I'll watch one of my videos back and go, oh God, I could have got rid of that. And that didn't really need to be necessary. I should have said that different, and things like that. And I think on TV and things like that, you have an advantage because they all have cameramen. They've all got these people running around the scenes. They can get really zoomed into the footage and get a nice picture of whatever they've made, and then they can quickly snap up and look at somebody's face and talk all about what they're doing and how they're going to do it and that sort of thing. And I can't do that. I'm a one-man band. If I started flipping camera angles every 5 seconds and trying to do that, not only would it look awful because I don't have a gimbal or anything that would steady the camera, but also it would take me the whole day. And I've still got a full-time job. I want to do this and I want to commit to it and really provide good content for people. But I don't want it to be my every waking hour when I'm outside of work. Yeah, exactly that, because it's currently an unpaid thing that I'm doing. It's one of those things where I can't invest every time. I've got a uni thing that I'm doing as well, and it's one of those things where I think for me it's just about editing the content. It's being brutal with your cuts and stuff like that. If I'm rabbiting a bit, or if I'm I've got too long a bit of footage, I can just go, okay, no more, chop. And then it's a 15-second clip, because ultimately no one needs to see me chopping a carrot for 30 seconds. People
know how to do it. Yeah,
exactly. So that's really what I've had to learn. I'd say that's probably been the most difficult thing, is just being brutal with my editing.
Yeah, I agree, because you feel like you filmed it all and it's like, oh, I should keep all of this.
Yeah, no, exactly that. It feels bad
attached to it all.
There and I'm like, no, my precious footage. But ultimately, the footage is meaningless if you don't have a good finished product.
Yeah, it's how it all looks in the end.
Your food, especially for food, because your food can look amazing at the end of it, and I can be like, everybody, look at this thing I've made. But then,
if no one gets to it
before they get to the end product, who cares?
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, let's see if chat. I've got a few more questions. I've seen a couple of questions about watching TV chefs and stuff. Do you do much of that?
Yeah, I do and I don't. So I like to do this thing where my wife and I have breakfast together on the weekend, and then we'll watch a bit of whatever's about. It's normally on iPlayer or something. We'll find a cooking show.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces like that. And yeah, then we'll see what's available. I used to watch a lot of cooking when I was younger. I was big on the old Ready Steady Cook, and I used to watch what I consider old school Jamie Oliver, where he was called the Naked Chef and he used to slide down the banister on his ass. Stuff like that, back when it was less pandering to people that can't be asked to cook. In the nicest possible sense. Sorry, Jamie Oliver, if you're watching. And
imagine that.
Yeah,
he just got it on his TV at home. Just us two chatting.
Firstly, they're slagging off the turkey Twizzlers, and then they're saying this. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Gordon Ramsay. Got a lot of time for him. I think he's quite brutally honest with stuff. I think he hams himself up a lot for the cameras, because he's got a very American audience now that he's got big with Hell's Kitchen and that sort of thing. And I think all of the showmanship and things he's got, where he's smashing loaves of bread into people's faces and calling them an idiot sandwich and stuff like that. It's all very camera-y, But when you actually see stuff that,
Early
you
stuff,
know,
I guess, isn't
yeah,
it?
exactly
Yeah.
that. Favorite Gordon Ramsay insult. So it's got to be either one of the Hell's Kitchen clips where there's this bit of salmon that somebody's kind of overcooked, and he's like screaming at him, and he's like, "Look at that! It's rubber, rubber, rubber!" And he smashes his hand down on this bit of salmon, and it just obliterates it. And you see this flake of salmon flies up, and it's this poor bloke in the face, and it's just hanging there like this bit of like salmon dangling off of his chin. And the poor bloke's so scared of Ramsay that he just won't wipe it off, and it's just still there while he's getting an absolute coating from him. Just hilarious. Or that bit of steak so dry it looks like Gandhi's flip flop is one of my other favourites.
The stuff like the brews and the potions, are you going to try and make them or not?
Of course, yeah, yeah. So the difficult thing that I found, because I've I've got what I would consider like a potion bottle type thing. It's like this. I think it had matches in it. I think it was one of those weird, like, TK Maxx
Kind of gift
things that we
set
got given
things,
as a
yeah.
gift at Christmas. And we were like, "What is this? It's a bottle of matches." Okay, and I was like, "I'll have that." I need that bottle for things, and yeah, I've stolen the bottle, and I certainly could utilize it as like a potion bottle. But I think the difficulty is with it is it's all the herbs. So to me, like if I was going to make, I don't know, like a sour brew, if you look at the actual recipe, oh God, my testing my runes getting legend now.
I'll look it up for you.
Some herb and a crushed bird's nest, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what herb it is.
So
it's something like an Avantoe and a crushed bird's nest,
toadflax,
or it's a qualm or something.
Toadflax.
Toadflax, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'd go, okay, well, toadflax, let's try and see what we could do with that. Maybe like, I don't know, a bit of rosemary or something that can go with cocktails or mocktails, whatever you want to call them. And then you look at crushed bird's nest and you go, oh, poo. What's that going to be?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Anti-poison potion. Let's make that. So yeah, it's a Morentil. Okay, yeah, I can do that. That can be a bit of mint or something. And crushed unicorn horn. Fantastic. What's that going to be? And this is the difficulty that I've found. Yeah, rosemary and bran flakes. Yeah, bland flakes, I call them.
Or
But,
crushed nest could be twiglets. Because, if you had them in... They kind of look like twigs for
mashed up shredded wheat, and then what?
Yeah.
I'm like choking on it. Take a nice, like, satisfying, like, sip of it, and then end up just like gagging on it. But yeah, it's one of those where you sort of think like, oh God, it would be awful. And then the color is the thing as well, because
it's yellow.
It's literally like, yeah, like a. Well, I'm not going to get my Dulux color swatches out, but it's like a creamy yellow color, isn't it? So it's like, what would you do to dye that? I can put food coloring in everything I make, but some people are a bit funny with food coloring, like, and it's one of those where you sort of go like, what do I do? How do I make it that color? It's sort of like what I would call like a milky yellow. So if you imagine you've got a vial of water, just literally tap water, and I put yellow food coloring in that, it's going to look like, well, you know what it's going to look like. So it's not going to be a milky yellow. It's going to be like, but that's the thing. I think for me at the minute, it's trying to work out how I can do that. So yeah, I guess long story short, to answer your actual question would be, I definitely do want to look to do those. I just need to work out how I'm going to get the right blend of making it edible so I'm not wasting food, and making it actually look like the product, because getting things to color match for game stuff is unbelievably difficult.
I have a funny story about food coloring. I tried to make a red omelette.
Okay.
It doesn't work. It just goes brown and horrible, and it looked absolutely disgusting. It crumbled it up.
I've got to ask for the chat's benefit, of course, and my curiosity. Why would you be making a red omelette?
Because I wanted an omelette, but I wanted to see if I could make it a different color.
Okay.
As simple as that. I just wanted to, make something that looked unique.
Fair, yeah. Okay.
Who eats all the food you make? I think you kind of covered it yourself.
So Yeah, sadly, it's me. You don't get to this side by giving food away, unfortunately. But no, certainly, if I've got a surplus of food, like with anyone that's watched the bread recipe will know that I did a here's one I made earlier, where I brought in a different bowl. So the second dough that had risen after I'd finished the video, I baked it and took it round my nan's house. So I just give it to whoever's available for a bit of free food.
Why not? It's good.
But yeah, normally things like the
Yeah.
chocolate bomb, where there's only like 10 of them and they're like that big anyway, like I'll eat them.
How are you a cooking game like meat?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I
Sorry.
thought
Yeah,
cooking
yeah.
game, what, like Cooking Mama? But no, game
Undercooked
as
as
in
well.
like
That's a good one.
Partridge, sort of thing, you mean, yeah. So I personally don't really like gamey stuff. Like I've tried, what have I tried? I've tried rabbit, I've tried venison, I've tried not pheasant, partridge or something like that. I just find them like I describe any fowl, like as in like poultry of the
Yeah.
game variety. I think they taste like chicken that's had a load of copper coins massaged into the flesh before you've eaten it. It just doesn't taste nice to me. I don't mind. I've tried venison; it was all right. I mean, would I take that over beef? Say, probably not. Um, but yeah, it's not something I cook with a lot.
Chunks of plum. So they tried to make a rainbow cake, but used liquid food coloring and it just turned it into many shades of brown.
Yeah, oh god, it's so annoying. I feel you there. Liquid food coloring is an absolute mare. Like I've had many a disaster with that, especially for chocolate. Like chocolate's one of those things that when you've got white chocolate in particular that you want to dye to look like various things, it doesn't go right if you use liquid based food coloring, because a lot of them are like alcohol based and it
Okay.
scrambles the chocolate and then you end up with this hard unspreadable unpourable like scrambled eggy claggy looking disgusting mess that sits in the bottom of your thing. And as Plum said, it's if you put it in cakes it cooks it out in the oven, so you think you're going to get this nice like green cake,
Yeah.
because obviously you've got this batter that looks kind of green. You pour it in a pan, you take it out of the oven, and it's brown, and you go, "Ah, oh, fantastic." Yeah, I had exactly that same issue with the rainbow cake, but unfortunately, the alternative is gel food colorings, and they're fairly expensive if you're not using them a lot. I find that people tend to buy them for one recipe, and then you end up stuck with them and obligated to use them in everything, and then you end up eating red omelets.
How many kitchen fires have you started? Another one from chat. Every good chef has started at least 2, apparently.
This is news to me. I mean, I must not be very good then, because unfortunately I've not managed to set fire to my kitchen yet, thankfully.
Any close calls, or have you always been pretty sensible?
I think at college, I think I had a close call because they were like not proper cookers. They call them flat tops, but not in the traditional sense of like an American one, like, you know, where you do like your eggs and that.
Yeah.
Like they use in all the diners, the typical things that we used to see. And like these were like more like an Argus. So it was like a cast iron top, and then they had a big like disc in the middle, and underneath the disc was like this like hellfire. Like it was really hot. Yeah. But no, not yet. I caught my not apron. I caught my tea towel because they used to give you a really thick, like pleated tea towel that used to keep over your apron, because you used to do them around the front as well. And yeah, I was leaning in something and thought, I'll just do that. And then all of a sudden, this thing's like kind of, and I was like, oh, like launched it into the sink, like not really. So that was kind of close.
You kind of said you don't cook anymore for your job. Did you do a bit of a flip at some point? And I guess what led to it as well? Because obviously, if you did it throughout school and you were enjoying it, what caused you to go away?
So I think 100%. So Crawdad's nailed it. So basically, I've never really known what I've wanted to do since I left secondary school, honestly. I didn't go and do A levels, I didn't go and do a degree or anything like that. I literally left school, wanted to earn some money, wanted to get a job. So my first job out of school was KFC, funnily enough. And the only benefit to working there was literally free lunch every day. Other than that, it was absolutely dire. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I left there, went and did some various other bits, and eventually I found myself at college doing catering. So had various jobs in and amongst various restaurants, some chains, some family-owned local things, that sort of thing. And by the time I'd finished my college, I did a level 1 NVQ, and then I got skipped a year and ended up doing the level 3. And by the time I'd finished that, and that was great, I learned all of the like, are you classically trained? Like they always ask on MasterChef. Well, yes, technically. But so they teach you all like the cool, like old French cuisine and all of that sort of thing. But by the time I'd come out, I was just so burnt out with it. So I did about another year and a half in various other restaurants and stuff. But the hours were just dire. Like, I don't know what it is or why catering is still really old-fashioned in this aspect, but it seems to be one of the only career paths that you can still go into nowadays where they make you do split shifts. So you'll get in at like 7 a.m. for like the food delivery. You'll do all of the putting away, all of the prep for the daytime, get everything set up, do the morning, then the busy lunch rush, and then after lunch you'll do a clean down. Have like a break, which is basically just like an hour to 2 hours, depending on how generous of a place you work. And then you're back in the kitchen again from like 4 to do the dinner prep through all the way until the restaurant closes anywhere between 10 and 11, maybe midnight, depending on where you work. And then you're cleaning down again. So by the time you've got in a few nights, well, I say a few nights, 5 nights a week at 1 a.m, stinking of the food and grease from the day, still need to have a shower ready to get up and do it all again. You want to kill yourself. And I thought, I'm never going to see my loved ones. I'm never going to have a social life. Like, it's just, it was awful. And I just got to the point where I just had enough. So I did anything I could to get out of doing it. Ended up working in retail for a few years. Weirdly, in a cookware shop, selling knives to people.
Probably quite useful, though. You had the knowledge. You knew your stuff.
I've got some nice cookware out of it, so that's where all my pots and pans come from, for anyone interested. Flocking that staff discount. I've got some nice knives and stuff like that, so that was my primary role, was selling, knives to people, so I know all about the different types of knives and stuff like that. Then I ended up one day seeing this advert for working in an office. And I thought, do you know what? I've been a computer gamer my whole life. Like, I don't really, what's the word? I don't really love social interaction in a one-to-one personal sense. So I'm not the sort of person that, like, I'm going to walk in the morning and go, oh, morning, everyone. Like those sort of people. Like, I'm still sitting there shuddering with my cup of coffee, like, don't talk to me. Like, so I kind of belong amongst IT people. And I ended up as a QA or quality analyst or quality assurance analyst, whatever you want to call them, software tester, and trained myself up to do that. They luckily took a chance on me, and here I am 3 years later having done that. And that's what I've been sort of doing since. I've now trained myself in sort of coding as well, so now I'm sort of a par developer type thing as well. I now, my actual role nowadays is writing computer code for testing software programs to then run against, and they will spin up. So imagine you were testing, I don't know, the Domino's Pizza website. First thing I thought of, funnily enough, food. It would open an instance of the Domino's Pizza website, and then you'd see the mouse on the screen as though you were clicking it, but you're not touching anything. And then it would go and click, and it would enter, like, all of the details, like your address and that sort of thing, and almost like bots, like you see RuneScape bots. I basically do that.
You create the scripts to test stuff.
I am not part of that. That's essentially what I do as a job.
Nice.
And yes, chefs are one of the professions most likely to do cocaine. That is 100% true. Because when I was at college, we had a speaker in that was like, "Oh, I've been on coke for the last 15 years," and like, yeah, absolute mess of a bloke he was, bless him. And he was like telling us, "Oh, don't get into it; it'll ruin your life." And I'm like, "Oh, this is what I need. 2 years into my NVQ." Cheers, fella.
Beautifully inspiring. Great choice of guest.
This is where my life is going. I love this.
I mean, I guess it's partly just down to the hours, isn't it? They're just
Mm.
something they need to.
Because, as I said, the hours are awful. You're locked away, and the only people you ever get to interact with are your colleagues. And obviously, a lot of them are young people that live on their own because you can't have a family doing it, really. And they do that, yeah.
I feel like that video idea might break
a
few rules.
That might be against YouTube's TOS, to be honest. Not too sure about
From your time at KFC, do you know the 7 secret herbs and spices?
I can give you a good idea of them. I can't say I know them because when you work there, the seasoning or whatever they want to call it comes in like these silver bags that literally have nothing written on them at all. They are just KFC seasoning. It comes from God knows a warehouse somewhere, and they ship it in these silver plastic bags that you cut open and dump out, and nobody knows what they are. It's not like you're going to be able to sneak a bit away and analyze it or anything. Like they're really, obviously, as you know, they're really funny on it. But I'm pretty good at tasting stuff in food, so I've managed to get a good dupe for it.
They never told you.
Oh no! I think I heard somewhere that there's about like 5 people in the world that actually definitely know it. Like they're not going to give it to the bloke that asks people how many legs they want in their 3-piece meal. Like,
all right, sweet. Well, I feel like we are winding down. So, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to, or anything you'd like to plug? Anything you got coming up?
Oh well, as I mentioned, I've got the JD's challenge recipe that he gave me about a week or so ago on the RuneScape pub quiz. So I filmed that earlier this week. It's a 4-course meal made up of 10 different ingredients plus a few little extra ones that I added. But yeah, so that I had a fun time making that. It was pretty exhausting, but I got it all done, and I'm looking forward to putting that out next Wednesday.
Because you release every Wednesday, right?
It's every Wednesday I do stuff. It's normally 10 a.m. They go out, and yeah. And if there's anyone that's come here from my Twitter, or if you've not seen any of Eddie's stuff before, please do give him a follow on here. It'll really help his channel out and stuff. And he's got a YouTube channel himself as well. So obviously go and subscribe to that. He does a lot of varied content. It's not just the interviews. It's really unique content, actually. He's got like his RuneScape researcher stuff, and he's just started a Clue Hardcore Iron Man that he streams. And then on his YouTube channel, of course, you've got the uploads of anything that you see here, plus what's your third series you do? You do the
I've got the quiz
like
show, you've got the researcher, you've got the community showcases weekly.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I think that's really nice. It's like highlights of everyone else's sort of content, kind of like Behemoth does for old school, but less like that. It's more styled around the community chronicle, if anyone remembers that RuneScape used to do.
My initial inspiration for it, I don't know if you remember, was the Summoners Showcase, the League of Legends one.
Oh yes.
That was I was like, something like that would probably work for.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's pretty cool stuff. So yeah, just make sure you drop him a follow if you're not already.
Thank you for that. I would say my content doesn't require quite the same level of knowledge and skill that yours does, though. If I ever try to do a cooking video,
I'd say any content creators requires a level of skill, quite honestly. I think, to be honest, to put yourself out in the public eye, and we all know what the internet can be like sometimes, so to physically put yourself out there and do your thing and, put yourself in the firing line potentially, like it takes a level of, skill and certain people to be able to do it anyway. So I try and support anybody that I can, quite honestly, because we're all in this together.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope everyone that's been watching has enjoyed it. And yeah, until next time, everybody, stay safe.